Welcome England fans, yep, it's squad day, so let's take a look. So welcome back to the channel, my name's Gary. Today, Southgate has announced the England squad that will be performing against Malta and North Macedonia. And it's an interesting pick in some ways, but then not so in others. And it's a little bit disappointing, but at the same time, not really unexpected, should we say. And there's some players in there where you feel like he is actually picking players on form. So let's get the squad up straight away and take a look. So here it is. We'll just go through it quickly. So it's Johnson, Pickford, Ramsdale as the goalkeepers. Alexander-Arnold comes back in. Lewis Dunk gets a call up. Mark Gahey, Harry Maguire, Tyrone Mings comes back in. Luke Shaw, John Stones, Kieran Trippier and Kyle Walker. In midfield, we've then got Jude Bellingham, Eze, I struggle to pronounce his name, Conor Gallagher, Jordan Henderson, Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, and then Harry Kane, Maddison, Rashford, Saka and Wilson. So two big names really that I've missed out, that have been in quite regular squads previously, is obviously Raheem Sterling and Nick Pope. There's not been much said on Nick Pope really, so I'm not even certain if he's injured or what, but nothing was even asked about Gareth Southgate in the press conference regarding Pope. But Johnson coming in is actually, he's a good player. There's actually quite a few players in this squad from a Crystal Palace perspective who are represented really well in this England squad, and rightly so because they've had such a good season. Trent Alexander-Arnold coming back in. It'll be interesting what Gareth Southgate does with him. He was actually asked in the press conference about TAA and the fact that he's playing a more of a midfield role now, it seems, within Liverpool. And the irony of this, because Southgate has historically struggled to incorporate Trent Alexander-Arnold within his squads. And what he tried to do previously, I think it was about a year ago or maybe a bit longer, he moved TAA into the midfield area, and Southgate got absolutely slated in the press for it, and believe it or not, even by Jurgen Klopp himself. So the irony now that he was asked about TAA playing in midfield is just ridiculous. But we know he's had a difficult time with England, and I do think that's mainly because his attitude isn't right. I think it may be this Scouse before English mentality that he has playing for Liverpool, but he just doesn't seem to have the same passion and interest of playing for England, and he's pulled out of numerous squads. So I would like to see TAA get another shot here and for him to show what he can do, because we've seen nothing like the performances he puts in for Liverpool in an England shirt. So I would love to see TAA come in and do well. I really would. So hopefully these two games would be a good opportunity for him. Lewis Dunk then obviously comes in. This is his first pick in the senior squad within 4 years. Or he hasn't played for England, in 4 years. It's a good return to him. Everyone's been saying he's been pushing at the door now for quite a while to come into these squads. So it's great that he's back in these squads, and it's well deserved. It really is. Mark Gahey comes in, again, good season. Harry Maguire, we've all just got to accept the fact that Maguire is a key player for Gareth Southgate, and I know the frustration people are feeling. He doesn't perform well for Manchester United, but he is different level for England, and he's never, he has let England down, but he's a much better player for England. He did have a relatively good World Cup, I believe, so I'm not too upset. I really am not too upset, and the options there are still thin. Tyrone Mings comes back in. Now, I am not, historically, the biggest fan of Tyrone Mings, but there's no denying his performances, particularly in the second half of the season, under Unai Emery, and he deserves his call-up. He really does. And I look back to the Euros, if you remember when Harry Maguire was injured a couple of years ago, he actually played really well in those group games for England as well. So he has had, again, good performances in England shirt, and he's been out the fold now for a few squads, so it's nice to see him come back in, particularly because we're so short in that area. Luke Shaw, John Stones, Trippier and Walker pick themselves. John Stones is obviously going to be playing right up until the end of the season, almost 7 days before the Malta game, so he's probably not going to feature in that, but may feature in the North Macedonia game. And I think the interesting thing about Stones as well is that he can now play in central midfield. That's what he has been doing for Manchester City, and it's an area of the pitch actually where we don't have a huge amount of depth. Yes, we have Declan Rice. I don't really want Bellingham playing in that holding role, so Stones now is a much more flexible player, so he's a really important player to pick regardless of how far into the season he's playing. So looking forward to see what he actually does with John Stones moving forward. I think he'll stay at centre half with Harry Maguire, but we've got that option now of another holding midfielder. Obviously, a big missing player in here is Tamori again. I'm not 100% sure of his fitness status at the minute, but he's had AC Milan having a good season. He's had a good season again from what I understand. So again, it's a bit surprising he's not included, but I think with Tyrone Mings doing so well as well in particular, and Dunk, I think it's just pushed him out a little bit. Bellingham obviously is a no-brainer. Gallagher, I don't get it. This is one player I do not understand, and I didn't understand it in the last squad, and I don't understand it now. I really don't. Obviously, there's no Mason Mount in this squad neither. But Gallagher, he's playing all right, but Chelsea are a poor team. They are a poor team this season. Does he do enough to get in these squads? I personally, I don't think so. But Southgate clearly sees something in him. He's becoming a regular squad pick now. It's interesting why Southgate clearly sees something important in him. And it's not that I think he's a bad player. I just think there's other players that probably deserve a space above him. So it's interesting that he keeps getting called up. But it'd be nice to actually see him play a few more minutes for England. Southgate keeps picking him in his squads, but we don't see much of him really in the matches, so it'd be nice to actually see him in England shirt for him to show us what he can do really. Jordan Henderson, the experienced player within this squad, along with obviously Harry Kane, but so Henderson comes in. Calvin Phillips, it's again, doesn't deserve his call up, does he? He really doesn't, and I know Southgate likes him. Calvin Phillips is a good player, but he's just not playing football. For me, you shouldn't have players being picked who aren't playing football for the English national side. It's just bizarre. It's a tricky one again, because we know if he plays him, he won't let him down. So you can half understand it from Southgate's point of view, but we would like to see people picked on merit, or at least that's what I think people would like. Declan Rice is obviously, I think he's a great player. I really do. I know West Ham hasn't had the best season, but I think he's a cracking player. And then Eze, who comes in now. I wasn't expecting this. I really wasn't expecting this, but it's deserved, isn't it? It is deserved. You didn't hear much clamour for him beforehand, so again, let's play him though. Let's see him in matches. These are good games to introduce players into. So again, it'd be good to see what he can do. Phil Foden, I think he'll play actually, because he's come out of the side a little bit in Man City, so he's not been playing as regularly as maybe a Jack Grealish would have. So I think it'll be good to see Phil Foden have a run out. Jack Grealish is obviously probably be playing in the Champions League final, so he may be rested for that first match. Harry Kane is just Harry Kane. James Maddison, again, he still looks like, even though Leicester are going to get relegated, he is Leicester's key player. He really is. Any threat they look like doing is coming through him, so he's a good pick for me. Marcus Rashford, he's tailed off, hasn't he, towards the end of the season in terms of his goal scoring, but still a key player. Saka and Callum Wilson. I am a bit disappointed Ollie Watkins hasn't been chosen, because I think he really deserves his place, and it's just, I think he's had a better season than Wilson. I know some people may disagree with that, but I don't know. I would really have liked to have seen Ollie Watkins back in the England squad, because he has earned his cause. So that's another, I think, disappointing omission for me from Gareth Southgate. Obviously, another player that people were calling for as well is Morgan Gibbs-White, but if you see here, this is the England under-21 squad that are due to play in the Euros under-21s this summer, and this is the initial squad for that tournament. It will be reduced down further, but he's been included in that, and that does make sense. He's going to go to a tournament, and so I'm not overly upset that he hasn't been chosen. He's certainly one for the future, and if he keeps playing the way he is, he will force himself back in probably to the next senior squad. So what are your thoughts on the squad? So like I said, mixed bag. Some players there on merit, rightly so, and some players still continuously getting in, which is a bit bizarre. And he's not rested some of these Man City players, has he, that people thought he was going to? So I think we're going to get two very different teams playing against Malta and North Macedonia, and it would be great to see some of these new players or less capped players get a few more minutes on the pitch. So thank you very much for watching. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you all on my next video.